Good evening. We're back. We're back. I'm having some trouble with the other one that I've just done. For some reason, I can download the stream, but I can't get it up on my actual page for some reason. So I don't know whether to upload the previous one that I've just done literally 2 minutes ago now, whether to upload that as a single video, which won't show on the live tab, which therefore buggers up the schedule of the channel a little bit. Or whether we just record another one now, which is what I'm planning to do, and just start with the counts, because we didn't really cover that much of particular interest, did we, in that previous episode? So I may just start again and then just start with count one, possibly. It's a criming shame. Alive, yeah. I've done a couple of these over the last week, just going through Lucy Letby's defense, basically, the trial transcripts. Like I say, I literally just finished a live stream. It was about an hour long. For some reason, it won't upload onto YouTube. I've got the actual video of it. But I don't know now whether I'm going to upload that as a standalone video or just start again, basically, and just start from where we finished that last one, pretty much. God, it's like being reborn again, isn't it? 1 minute you're here arguing with people, and then 10 minutes you come back, it's like a breath of fresh air. Right. Analysis of a crime. Good Lord. The legend. So good to hear from you. Damn, second time today I got notified for a live. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Yeah, the Christmas could have been better, because on Christmas Day, as I just told other people, I got out of my house to go. Thought I'd just go, pump up the car tires. Realised I had a flat tire. £285 later, and then had to make the 2-hour drive to my dad's. So yeah, it wasn't ideal. But we got there. Lovely to have you and Sunny here. That's much appreciated. Who else we got here? Lucy Blue. She's back in the house. I can't believe it. It's literally 10 minutes ago, not even that I finished. Like I say, I'm not sure if I'm going to upload that one, because we didn't cover that much of interest. There was some errors with, me discussing the transcript and whatever. So I might upload it. I might not. We'll see. Yeah, it was. That's not what you need on Christmas Day, is it? Calling out an emergency tyre fitter to your front door for a £60 tyre and then get charged nearly 300 quid. Great. Fantastique, as they say. Miss Jax. Hi again, John and chat. Missed you. Yeah, literally. It's been literally 5 minutes. So hopefully people will come back. Let me just share the stream with someone. Just bear me just 2 seconds, and then we're going to get straight onto the transcripts where we left off, basically. Okay. Just give me a second. Right. If I can change the... I can't, right. Okay. Sorry for this, just give me a second. Okie dokie. Right, and as I said at the start of the last episode, which was, as I say, about 10 minutes ago, I've actually done 4 other episodes leading up to the point where we're at now. So we're now on episode 5, and this is going through Lucy Letby's evidence in chief. So before she's cross-examined, she's there answering questions posed by her own defense barrister, Benjamin Myers. This is Lucy Letby's opportunity, Lucy Letby's chance to put her side of events across to the jury. And as I say, this isn't the first time I've done it. We're now on episode 5. The previous 4 episodes you can find down in the video description box below. So if you want to catch up with it after the stream has ended, feel free to go back, start from episode 1 and make your way forward. But now we're up to the actual charges. We're now moving on to count 1, which is quite naturally baby 8. Just make sure I haven't forgotten anybody. Potter 64. You haven't missed anything, actually. I did a stream. I can't, for some reason, get it uploaded. I've got the video of it, but I don't know whether to upload that separately, which will put it onto the main page rather than the live tab. So I've just decided to start again. We'll start from count 1, the part that we were going to start from, tomorrow night or whatever. We'll start that now, and we'll just make our way through it. We'll do like an hour or so, get the first count out the way, and just see what she says about, you know, this particular allegation. But at least everything's working. The mic's working. The dog's not snoring. Everything's fine. I tried to get the dog to go and sit in her bed, but she's not having any of it. So if you hear any snoring at all, it's not me. Okay. Right. Let's get this full screen. Let's get this party underway, shall we? Right. Okay, so we're now moving on, as I say, to the second day of Lucy Letby's evidence in chief. So Mr. Myers, her barrister, says the following. Miss Letby, we're going to move on to count 1 on the indictment, which is the case of child A. What I'll do is, as we go through these counts on the indictment, is just to remind us all, for your benefit and for the benefit of the ladies and gentlemen on the jury, briefly of the details relating to the birth of the baby we're looking at, and then either at the outset or when we come to it at an appropriate place, we'll look at any relevant nursing notes, particularly ones that are written by you. All right? That's how we'll deal with it. We'll be assisted with that. There will be an amount of moving between documents, ladies and gentlemen, like the interviews and the charts. So if you can keep an eye on where your files are, excuse me, and we will take our time to make sure we've got the right material, and you too, Miss Letby. So baby A, I'm going to ask you if we can put up tile 1, please. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. If we go inside that, please. We can see the name, which is obviously redacted, referred to on the indictment as baby A, the mother of babies A and B. So remember, baby A and baby B, they're both twins. Baby A was born on the 7th of June, 2015. We see elsewhere, in fact, but we see that's at 20:31, so just after 8:30 in the evening, on the 7th of June at 31 weeks and 2 days. He was the second of the twins. Twin 1 was his sister, child B. And we can see here his weight is 1,666 grams, so born by cesarean. Can we go to tile 3, please? We'll go into that. This sets out those details. Can we go behind that, please? Scroll down if you would, please, Mr. Murphy. Baby A was born with antiphospholipid syndrome. There's the maternal history of high blood pressure and a previous stroke, so medication for that. The event that we're looking at in count 1 is on the evening of June 8th, and we'll come to the details shortly. Just want to make sure I've read that correctly, because God forbid I make any sort of mistake. Baby A was born with antiphospholipid syndrome. There's the maternal history of high blood pressure and a previous stroke, so medication for that. The event that we're looking at in count 1 is on the evening of the 8th of June, and we'll come to the details shortly. But just to remind us, the 8th of June, and at 20:05, there was a 10% dextrose infusion that began with child A via the long line. At 20:26, he collapsed, excuse me, and sadly died at 20:58 that evening. We'll just look at the notes that deal with that, and then we'll move to the questions, Miss Letby. But this is to assist you and everybody. The first note I'm going to go to with your assistance, Mr. Murphy, is the note by Melanie Taylor at tile 224. Could we go into that, please? Can we enlarge the text section of the right-hand side? If you could enlarge, first of all, the entry on the center of the right-hand side, thank you. I'm going to pick this up from the entry at 19:05. So this is before the shift when you came on, Miss Letby, the 8th of June, 1905, by Melanie Taylor. It says, quote, UVC in wrong position. Reinserted SHO McCarrick. Excuse me. Again in wrong position. Cannula tissued. Doctors busy on ward 30. Aware no fluids running for a couple of hours. Long line inserted by Registrar Harkness. Awaiting X-ray. Remains settled on NCPAP. I guess that's nasal CPAP, I guess. Enteral feeds of donor EBM started at 1 mil 2 hourly. That's the note at 1905. Going to go next to the note at 2128 that follows that and goes over the page at 2128, which is after the event. Nurse, right, let's start that again. Going to go next to the note at 2128 that follows that and goes over the page. At 2128, which is after the event, Nurse Taylor puts this in. Observation stable, pink, well perfused, UVC still in situ, but in wrong position. To be used if no other access available. Then over the page, if we read on, please. Long line inserted by Registrar Dr. Harkness, secured X-rayed. 10% dextrose run through and connected to long line. 10% dextrose run as per Dr. Harkness until line confirmed. Care handed over to Lucy Letby at 2000 hours. Before leaving, apnea, heart rate dropped. Cardiac compressions and resus commenced. See documentation by Lucy Letby and medical notes. So we'll turn to that, and then we will ask you some questions, Miss Letby. Could we go to tile 228, please, Mr. Murphy? These are your notes, Miss Letby, in effect, following on. So we go into that, and it starts at the bottom right, quote, written in retrospect. This is a note at 0756, I should say, on the 9th of June, so the following morning. Care taken over at 2000. Emergency equipment checked, fluids calculated. Child A nursed on CPAP. Details there, if we go over the page though, please, quote, observation stable at 2005. 10% glucose commenced via long line with staff nurse Taylor as agreed by Reg Harkness, who was present. UVC remained in situ from day shift. Instructed line not to be used by registrar. Child A noted to be jittery, was due to have blood gas and blood sugar taken. At 2020, Child A's hands and feet noted to be white, centrally pale and poor perfusion. Child A became apneic. Registrar Harkness in the nursery and assistance called for. 10% glucose infusion disconnected immediately. Child A making nil respiratory effort. Neopuff with Guidal airway. Shortly after, no heart rate detected and full resuscitation commenced as per medical notes. UVC used to administer drugs. Parents and maternal grandmother present. Dr. J. Ram in attendance throughout. Child A passed away at 2058 and was given to parents to cuddle. I'm going to stop at that point, Miss Letby. If we need any more detail, it's there. That's just to assist us with what we're dealing with in count 1. So I'm going to ask to take that down from the screen for the time being, Mr. Murphy. Thank you. I want to pause there before we turn to the events that night and just remind ourselves, just get some context. We're looking at the middle of 2015, June 2015. Do you recall where you were living around this time, Miss Letby? Lucy replies, I moved around that time. Mr. Myers says, I wonder if you could put up to remind us Exhibit J355, please, Mr. Murphy. We saw this when we last looked at your evidence. We know the events with Child A are on the 8th into the 9th of June. Quote, 1st of June, Ash House. So what do we know happened on the 1st of June? Lucy replies, that's where I moved to. Mr. Myers, right. Hen party in York on the 5th of June? Lucy replies, yes. Mr. Myers, had you settled back into Ash House by the time we're dealing with the events with Child A? She replies, no, I was still in the process of moving and unpacking. Mr. Myers, right. Do you recall whether you'd been expecting to come in that evening, on that evening shift of June 8th? She replies, no, I received a text from Yvonne Griffiths, the deputy manager, asking me to work that morning. Mr. Myers, could we have a look, please, at tile 69? We're going to look at a series of messages starting at tile 69. This is from Yvonne Griffiths to you, the 8th of June, 9:21 in the morning. So a little under 12 hours before the event we're looking at. Morning, Lucy. Hope you had a lovely weekend. Just wondering if you can split your nights this week and work tonight and tomorrow and come off Thursday and Friday. If we go to the following tile, tile 70, you reply at 9:22, yes, that's fine. Is it busy? So would you have known you were due to be called in to assist before these messages? Lucy replies, no. You've asked if it's busy. Can we go to tile 71? Response by Yvonne Griffiths. Oh, thank you, Lucy. We had 3 on CPAP, Singleton Sat and Twins last night, all 30 weekers, so just wanted 6 staff on. Thanks. Tile 72, please. You now to Jennifer Jones Key. Sorry, I was in bed. Hope you slept. I'm working tonight and tomorrow now as busy. Just pausing there. Was it unusual to get requests to come in like this over this period? Lucy replies, no, it happened frequently. Were you often requested to do that? She replies, yes. Mr. Myers, and did you assist? She replies, as much as I was able to, yes. Why were you ready to do that? She replies, I was very flexible. As I say, I lived locally. I had no commitments outside of work. So I was very happy to help when I could and adapt my shifts as needed. Mr. Myers, you went in for the evening shift, is that right? Lucy Letby, yes. And we can see, and let's remind ourselves the layout for that. That's on tiles 161 and 162. So can we go to 161, please? Monday the 8th of June at 19:30. Could you just help us when it's the evening shift? Do you regard it as the 19:30 shift or the 2000 shift? What time do you regard it as starting? Lucy replies, 19:30. Mr. Myers, 19:30. Lucy, yes. Not going to read out everything that we can see there, but we can see who you're on with. We go to tile 162 to see who is designated with which baby. You were the designated nurse for child A, weren't you? She replies, yes. At this stage of the sequence of events, we don't have the nurseries marked on. That came with the diagrams later, but we know child A and child B were both in nursery 1. Is that right? She replies, that's right. You remember that, do you? She replies, yes. When did you first learn that you'd be caring for child A? She replies, when I arrived on the unit that evening and was told at handover. Let's start again. When I arrived on the unit that evening and was told at handover that's who I'd be allocated to. And do you recall what time you would have got to the unit? She replies, I would have been ready to start my shift at 19:30. Mr. Myers, do you remember what followed? We've got the notes, but do you have any recollection independent of the notes of what followed? Lucy replies, yes, I do, yes. Let's just stop there for a second. Just try and remove this bit off the old screen. Bex Minster, welcome to you. Thank you for joining us this evening. And like I say, we started, then we stopped, then we had an issue, and then we've come back on again. So it's all it's all crazy. But thanks so much for joining me again. It is greatly appreciated. Let's have a look. I don't know if he's asking me that question, but I think I've already explained what happened. But yeah, thanks to Terry and Lenny for joining us to do a bit of a moderation. Fantastic to see, like I say, Sunny, and also analysis of a crime with CD. It's great to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. Hope you both had a fantastic Christmas. All right, let's crack on with the following. Let's have a sip of the old drink here. 2 seconds. Right, where do we get to? Okay. I think I was here, wasn't I? We'll go back over things in the detail we need to, but could you start by telling us what happened? You get that evening for the shift to start. We know that Mel Taylor had been looking after child A. Lucy replies, that's right. Can you describe events from the time that you get on to the unit? She replies, so I received a group handover that we get at the start of the shift, and I knew that I'd been allocated to look after child A in nursery 1. I went straight into nursery 1 to get the handover, then from Melanie Taylor. At that point, there was a lot of activity going on in the nursery. Pause there for a moment. Lucy says, yes. Mr. Myers, you find out then that you're looking after child A. Is that right? She replies, that's right. You go into the nursery. Do you recall who was in the nursery, or do you not? She replies, yes, so Melanie Taylor was in the nursery and Dr. Harkness was in there doing a procedure. Mr. Myers, when you refer to there being activity in there, is that what you mean, or is there something else that sticks in your mind? She replies, so I remember there just a lot going on in the nursery. The lights were up on full. I think Dr. Harkness was doing a line procedure at the time. And I remember Melanie Taylor was preparing fluids for child A. All right, you went into nursery 1? Lucy replies, yes. What happened once you went into nursery 1? She replies, I went into nursery 1 and Melanie Taylor was there preparing fluids for child A. And she explained that child A had been without fluids for a few hours because he'd needed a long line inserting. And as a priority, we got straight on with connecting those fluids to child A. Or he'd needed a line inserting, I should say. Right, you say child A. She explained he'd been without fluids for some hours. She replies, she did, yes. Could we look at tile 35, which is the intensive care chart for this period for child A? If we go behind that, and we just start with this, actually we can see this for the 8th of June, Miss Letby, for child A. It says child A We're familiar with the charts now, so I'm going to ask if we could scroll down. We can see up to 1600 there are entries, and then at 1600 that day for child A it says cannula tissued. Lucy replies, yes. And apart from an entry for NGT at 1800 hours, which is some expressed breast milk via the NGT, what does that tell us? The fact that after 1600 the various readings have stopped. Lucy replies, so after that point at 1600 his peripheral line has tissued, which means he can no longer receive IV fluids. So at that point, from 1600 onwards, or between 1600 and 2000, he didn't have any fluids running. Mr. Myers, that's what was explained to you? She replies, yes. That had been stopped? She replies, yes. There's something else I'd like to ask about. It's on tile 145. There's a reference to that line, to a line that had been positioned. It's at tile 145, please. It's in Dr. Harkness' clinical notes. As a general rule, I'm not going to be taking you through clinical notes, but where there's something in them I would like you to assist us with, I will. If we scroll to the... My dog, stop snoring. I can't believe my dog's just literally snoring right here. Right, let's try that again, shall we? It's in Dr. Harkness' clinical notes. As a general rule, I'm not going to be taking you through clinical notes, but where something's in them I would like you to assist us with, I will. If we scroll to the bottom of that page, we can see something in Dr. Harkness' notes that said, quote, X-ray review. It's a sticker. It says the time of the X-ray. For the date, it's got the 8th of June, 2015, 1909. And there's a description of what's there, but under comments, it says, long line at right, subclavian SVC, hopefully I've pronounced that right, which is superior vena cava to be pulled back. Can you see that? She replies, yes. That's what it was saying at 1909. Were you aware that there was a repositioning of the long line that was due to take place? Had that been explained to you? She replies, I was told at the time that the line was suitable for use. I was told at that time that the line was suitable for use. I was told at that time that the line was suitable for use. You were told it was suitable for use? She replies, yes. And who told you that? She replies, Melanie Taylor and Dr. Harkness. Right. Is that the line that the 10% glucose went down? She replies, yes. We take that down, please, Mr. Murphy. Thank you. Can you explain then what happens next? You say that Melanie Taylor had been getting ready. She replies, yes, when I entered the nursery, Melanie Taylor was dressed sterilely. I think that's right. Sterilely, which is what we need to do to prepare fluids. She had the IV bag. She had the IV fluid trolley out and had the fluids and had gloves. Okay, now she had the IV fluid trolley out and had the fluids and had gloves and apron on and was starting to run through some fluids into the line. And when I arrived in the nursery, we decided that doesn't make any sense. We decided that. We decided that this would be our priority. Let's say it like that. We would both check the fluids, get those running on child A, and then have a formal handover. So we know you get onto the unit round about, not precisely, 7:30. Letby replies, yes. If it's possible, how far into getting onto the unit would this conversation and these arrangements start with child A? So she replies, first we would have had the collective handover at the nurse's station before that. So that would have taken 20 minutes or so, maybe even more. Mr. Myers, then you go to the nursery. She replies, that's right. And then when you're in the nursery, that's where you begin to make arrangements with Melanie Taylor. She replies, yes, right. Can you tell us who is going to do that with regard to running the fluids through the line? She replies, so when you're running fluids through a long line, one member of staff has to be sterile, and that person was Melanie Taylor. Mr. Myers, what does that mean when you say sterile? What have they done, or how are they? That means that they are the sterile nurse. She replies, so that nurse is wearing gloves and an apron. They have sterilized the whole of the area that we're working with. We have a fluids trolley. they would have sterilized the area. And then any of the fluids that they're touching, the connections that go to it, that is all kept sterile. Mr. Myers, we've heard it involves 2 nurses for this. What's the other nurse doing? Lucy Letby, so you have to have a role then of a dirty nurse, which is the person who does things such as connecting it to the pump and doing any sort of the practical things that that person can't touch because they're sterile. Mr. Myers, so who was going to be doing that when it came to child A and the dextrose? Lucy replies, I was the one that was the dirty nurse that would be programming the pump. Mr. Myers, was it a pre-made bag of dextrose that was used? She replies, yes, it was. Where would that have come from? Lucy replies, so Mel had it out when I arrived, but the bags are kept in nursery 1 in the cupboard. Mr. Myers, it was already out when you got there. Lucy replies, yes, it was. It was all on the trolley ready. So the bag's ready. Melanie Taylor was the sterile nurse. You were going to assist. What happened next? Lucy replies, so we went to child A's cot side. Mel finished connecting the fluids and drawing them through the line. She then went to child A to attach the fluids, and I turned my attention then to hanging the bag and programming the pump. Tongue twister, programming the pump. Right, so can you give us a little bit more detail? Who was doing what with which bit of equipment? She replies, at that time, Mel is the one who is handling the bag of the 10% and the infusion line that runs with that. She was then the one that would physically go to child A, clean the long line, and attach that to the line. Mr. Myers, what does that involve, attaching it to the line? Just so we can follow. What actually does that mean? Lucy replies, you have to access the line. You clean the line with an alcohol wipe to make the area sterile. She would then have needed to flush the line to check that it was patent. What are we going to go with? Patent? Let's go with patent. And after that, then you would connect the fluid line to the end of the long line. I can imagine there's a line coming down from the bag and the apparatus there. She replies, yes. When you're talking about connecting it, what is it being connected to so far as child A is concerned? She replies, oh Christ, hang on, gone too far. She replies, it would be connected to the port that's coming out of the long line that's in child A. Mr. Myers, so the line that had been positioned by Dr. Harkness. Lucy Letby, she replies, yes. Do you remember where it was coming out of child A? Where the port was? Lucy replies, his left arm. Right, let's have a quick, let's move my leg. 2-second break, bear with me. Lucy, many thanks for joining us this evening. Yeah, we've got 2 now. We've got oh, here we go. It's patent, is it? Big Dosser is correcting me. He's saying it's patent. Right, patent. Let's write this down because they say it again in a minute. Oh dear, all these medical terms. Patent, right. Okay, I'll try my best. Oh dear. Right, let's have a look here. Yeah, and as I say, apologies for splitting this into 2 sections, the live stream, shall we say. Oh yeah, and don't forget to hit the like button as well. I always forget to say that. I'm an amateur when it comes to this live streaming malarkey. An absolute amateur. All right, let's carry on here. Patent. Right, I must remember that. Patent. Right. Oh yeah, don't forget to hit that. Don't forget to announce you're stripping for donations. Yes, so no, I'm only joking. But if you do wish to support the channel and the work that I do, as I say in every stream, you can find out how to do that down in the video description box below. All support is greatly appreciated, as I always say, right? And I'm definitely not getting to a point where I need to strip for donations, Mr. Stamper. I know you want to see my body, but you know, that's for after hours, you know what I'm saying? Right, let's carry on. Where did I get to? Where was his port? Answer, his left arm. So that's what's being connected. She replies, yes. And who's doing that connecting? Melanie Taylor, because she's the one who's sterile, Mr. Johnson. And then could you repeat, what is it that you were doing while she did that? She replies, so I was responsible for hanging the 10% bags. That's putting it onto the drip stand next to the cot side and then programming the pump. Mr. Myers, is that what happened? She replies, yes. Mr. Myers, and you mentioned about the line. Did you say being flushed to make sure it's patent? Patent? Lucy Letby replies, yes, the usual practice is whenever you are attaching something to any line, you would flush the line with sodium chloride first to check that the line is working. Mr. Myers, that's usual, that's standard practice? Lucy replies, that's standard practice really for anything going through a line, yes. Mr. Myers, and did that happen? Lucy replies, I wasn't watching Mel specifically, but that is usual practice, yes. Mr. Myers, if we please look at tile 174, which is the IV prescription chart, help us with the time. Go behind that, please, Mr. Murphy. We can see here, 8th of June, 10% dextrose, 500 ml bag. And it's got a rate there, route. What does it say under route? Lucy replies, long line. It's being prescribed by, or which registrar? Lucy replies, Dr. Harkness. And then it says given by. Is it your signature there? She replies, yes, my signature's on the bottom. Mr. Myers, you say Melanie Taylor also gave it? She replies, yes. So that's the other signature. She replies, yes. Let me just ask you this, because others have been asked it. Is there a clear significance to whose name goes where, as to above or under when it's a signature? She replies, no, not at all, no. So this was one of the points, wasn't it? Because in her defense here, she's basically putting forward the case that I was the dirty nurse, Mel Taylor was the sterile nurse, Mel Taylor connected the fluids, and then this child collapses very shortly afterwards. But then when she's cross-examined about this, it becomes very apparent, and it's even mentioned here, but the fact that Mr. Myers has said, let me just ask you a question about this because others have been asked as well. Is there any clear significance to whose name goes where as to above or under where it's signed, when it's signed? And Lucy says, no, not at all, no. So they can't tell by the signatures on the paperwork who was the person who hung that bag. So Mel Taylor could quite easily turn around and say, no, Lucy was sterile. I was the dirty nurse. Lucy was the person connecting it. But I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, really, because I guess what Lucy's trying to say, or, I mean, can I say that? Not really. I shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase that a minute. I don't want people saying, you know, I'm putting words into Lucy's mouth or anything. Let's just rephrase that. Let's rewind a bit. What I'm trying to say is that the prosecution are saying, well, so what you're saying here, Lucy, is that Mel Taylor could have been responsible. And then Lucy says, well, if we're agreeing that whoever hung the bag is responsible, kind of thing, you know, well, yes, she could have been. So, but there's actually no way of telling from the paperwork. That's the whole point of this. So Lucy can say whatever she wants to some degree in terms of who connected what. But what happens is that Mel Taylor leaves this area and starts typing up some notes on the computer. So Lucy at that stage is then left alone with this child just before it collapses, basically. So you can either suggest, was it something to do with the fluids, or did it happen just afterwards? That's the whole point. Right. I've forgotten where I was now. Let's have a look. Let me just ask you. No, that's fine. It says date and time started. It looks like, can you tell us what that says? Lucy replies, I say that's 20:05. Mr. Myers. So 8:05 in the evening. Lucy Letby, yes. Right, question. And is it you that wrote in, and is it you that wrote that in, or Mel, or someone else, do you know? She replies, it would have been myself or Mel, I can't say. Question, one or the other? She replies, yes. Do you remember who? She replies, no. And what does that tell us? Lucy replies, that is the exact time that the fluids began to run through the pump. All right, is that what took place? She replies, yes. So 10% dextrose begins to go down the line. Lucy replies, yes. We would only sign for it once we were happy that the fluid was actually infusing through the line. Mr. Myers, all right, so Lucy again. So at this point, it has been commenced and the pump is running. Mr. Myers, all right, so at that point, if you can remember, just tell us what happens next. Lucy Letby, as in, what did I do next? Mr. Myers, yes, leading up to the time when anything was noticed about child A, can you recall anything that took place between this and what happened around 2026? Mr. Myers, yes, so once we'd sorted out the fluids, Lucy Letby, sorry. Yes, so once we'd sorted out the fluids, I then had a handover from Mel. And then she went to the computer station to start writing her notes. And I then started doing my equipment checks. Pausing there. We know there's a handover at the beginning of the shift. When you went to nursery 1, you then assisted Melanie Taylor with child A and the dextrose. Is that right? Lucy replies, that was the first thing we did. Yes, the first thing you did. So had you actually had the cot side handover discussion before you did the fluid? She replies, no. Right. So you say that's what you then had after the fluid was running. She replies, that's right. Mr. Myers, and then Mel went to deal with her own business and you said you were doing some checks. Lucy Letby, yes. Mr. Myers, what checks would they be? Lucy Letby says, at the start of every shift, we do equipment checks. So that's checking all of the equipment around the cot side. So the emergency equipment, the oxygen, the suction points, any equipment that's around the baby. Basically, we are checking, and that's the standard thing at the start of every shift. Mr. Myers, do you recall where Dr. Harkness was during this? Lucy Letby, yes, Dr. Harkness was with child B, I believe, in the same nursery. Yes, the lights were up and he was doing a procedure. And I think it was on child B, and Caroline Bennion was there as well. What was the first indication you had that anything might not have been right? Lucy Letby, I noticed child A to be jittery when I was doing my observations. Mr. Myers, nearly called him Nicholas Johnson then. Mr. Myers. Let's see if we could put up tile 228 again, please. It's the second page of tile 228. If we look across to the left-hand side, a couple of lines down, we've got, it refers to 10% glucose after a time of 20:05 has been given. Just read this again. It refers to 10% glucose after a time of 20:05 has been given. It refers to Nurse Taylor and Dr. Harkness, and that the UVC remained in situ. Then it says, this on the fourth line down, child A noted to be jittery, was due to have blood gas and blood sugar taken. Why did you make a note? When you did this retrospectively, and these notes are written at 7:56 the next morning, why did you make a note, noted to be jittery? Lucy replies, jittery is an abnormal finding. That is not something that we want a baby to be displaying. Mr. Myers, what does jittery mean in case anybody can't really follow what that describes? She replies, it's like an involuntary jerking movement of the limbs. Mr. Myers, do you recall now, casting your mind back, how pronounced that was or how subtle it was? You describe it to us if you can remember. She replies, I remember it was noticeable enough that whilst I was just doing my equipment checks, I could see he was visibly jittery. Tell us what happened next then. Lucy replies, so whilst I was carrying out my equipment checks around the bedside, child A's monitor sounded, and that's when we noted that his colour had changed and he was apneic. Mr. Myers, monitor, just help us. What's the purpose of the monitor that sounded? Lucy Letby, so the babies in nursery 1 are on a Philips monitor, which is full intensive monitoring. And at times, start again. I need to get a bit bloody closer to the screen. So the babies in nursery 1 are on a Philips monitor, which is full intensive monitoring. at all times, and if any values go out of the recommended reference range, then an alarm will sound. Mr. Myers: Is that the alarm you heard? She replies, yes. Do you know what that alarm was indicating? She replies, I don't recall what the alarm was indicating at that time. No. Mr. Myers: We've got the notes here, your note, but you described to us. Was there anything about child A that you noticed when you went to him? She replies, yes, the most obvious thing that I noticed was that his hands and feet were white. Mr. Myers: Can you describe to us what happened when the alarm had gone and you noticed this? She replies, I went over to child A, he wasn't breathing, so we began to neopuff him. Mel Taylor came straight over, as did Dave Harkness, and because his limbs had gone white, the first thing we did was disconnect that bag of 10% fluid from the line. Just pause there, please. When you say disconnect the bag of 10% fluid, that's the bag going down the long line that had been positioned earlier by Dr. Harkness. She replies, that's right. And the first thing that happened was to disconnect that. She replies, yes. So Dr. Harkness advised that we were to stop the fluids immediately. Then there's something cut off there. Mr. Myers: That was his advice? She replies, it was, yes. Mr. Myers: In a description in the note that you've talked about, quote, hands and feet noted to be white, and you put centrally pale and poor perfusion. So there can be no doubt. What do you mean by centrally pale and poor perfusion? How does that look on the baby as a whole? She replies, so his limbs were white and centrally he was pale. So his limbs were white and centrally he was pale, but not as white as his limbs. Mr. Myers: By centrally, just tell us which part of the body? She replies, with centrally, I'm talking about the torso and abdomen. Mr. Myers: Right. And poor perfusion, what does that mean? She replies, poor perfusion is a reflection there that obviously he's pale and white is a sign of poor perfusion. Mr. Myers: Do you recall how his breathing was at this point? Lucy Letby: He was apneic. Meaning? He was not breathing at that point. Mr. Myers: Please talk us through what happens after that. You're all in there now. Dr. Harkness and Melanie Taylor, Lucy Letby, and Caroline Bennion. Mr. Myers: Do you remember where she had been beforehand? Lucy Letby: She was the allocated nurse to child B. So I believe she was helping Dr. Harkness with what was going on at that point. Mr. Myers: So where would she have been, in fact? Lucy Letby: In the nursery at child B's cot side. Mr. Myers: In nursery 1? Yes. Do you recall how long she'd been there for? Lucy replies, she was there the whole time because she was receiving handover for child B. Mr. Myers: Let's just pause there because so far you have given us the name of Dr. Harkness as being present. Lucy Letby: Yes. Nurse Taylor? Lucy Letby: Yes. Because she had done the handover to you. Lucy replies, and Nurse Taylor was also handing over to Caroline Bennion because she had had child B that day as well. Mr. Myers: So Caroline Bennion was also in that nursery too. Lucy Letby: She was, yes. And had she been during handover? Lucy replies, yes. Mr. Myers: Describe what happened next then, please. Lucy Letby: So once I noticed that child A was apneic, I began the usual procedure of starting to neopuff him. Dr. Harkness, as I say, came straight over. One of us disconnected the fluids. I'm not sure who that was. And after that, child A just continued to deteriorate. And we then lost his heart rate, right? And an emergency crash call was then put out. Mr. Myers: And a crash call again, just help us with this. I won't keep going back to these things, but just so we're clear what you mean by these things as we go through your evidence. By an emergency crash call, what does that actually involve happening? She replies, so an emergency crash call is where we call it the 4 2s. It's the number on the phone. It's 2222. And that goes straight through to the emergency line on the switchboard. And that's how we then request that we need the neonatal team to attend urgently. Mr. Myers: Is it a doctor who then attends? Lucy Letby: It is, yes. That would go out to the SHO, the registrar and consultant if needed. Mr. Myers: Do you recall who did attend? Lucy Letby: Yes, I remember Dr. J-Ram came very quickly. Were there any other people who came to assist with what was taking place? Lucy Letby, nurse A. Yeah, I do need glasses. Someone just messaged me. I do need contact lenses. My eyesight is terrible. Right. She came very soon after we'd noticed a change in child A. Do you know where she'd been beforehand? Lucy Letby, no. Actually, did I read that? Sorry. Yes, I remember Dr. J. Ram came very quickly. Were there any other people who came to assist with what was taking place? Nurse A. Do you recall when it was that she came? Lucy Letby. She came very soon after we had noticed a change in child A. Lucy Letby. Do you know where she'd been beforehand? Lucy Letby. No. Do you recall the events of the resuscitation that took place? We can take the tile down, please. Do you recall the events of the resuscitation that took place clearly? Hang on a sec. I don't want to stand on my dog. Yeah. Right, I'll stop there for a second. Catch up with the chat. Oh, dearie me. I definitely need some contact lenses, though. Reading this has convinced me. I'm definitely in need of some eye support. You can't hear the dog. No, I don't think anyone can, because I've got a noise. What's it called? A noise gate on this mic, so it should block out quite a lot of the background noise. And my dog, it's not like loud snoring, but like when I'm talking, it's really off-putting, because all I'm hearing is sort of sound. Yeah, and I keep thinking, yeah, it just sounds like I'm both narrating and snoring at the same time. You know, it's like one of my hidden talents or something. Oh dear. Right. Lucinda, welcome to you. Thanks for joining us this evening. Much appreciated. Who else have we got here? Humanimal. Nice name. Yes, welcome to you. Thanks for joining us this evening. Like I say, this was a completely an unscheduled part 2, shall we say. Yeah, thanks, Lucinda, for joining us this evening. It's greatly appreciated. Don't forget to hit the like button for the stream as well. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We do these pretty much at the moment on a nightly basis. So we try and get 40 or 50 pages done, if possible, just to try and make our way through it. We've got about 4 days left of this to get through, which is like 180 pages per day. And we've just started day 2, so it's a grind. What can I say? It's an absolute grind. Right, let's carry on. Okay, so let's continue. Actually, just move this out of the way so I don't get messed up with what I'm reading. There we go. Okay. So, Lucy Letby. Took place clearly. Lucy Letby. No, not in any great detail, no. Mr. Myers, do you recall how you were feeling, if you have any recollection of this, as this resuscitation unfolded? She replies, I remember it just being a huge unexpected shock. It felt we'd literally just walked through the door of the shift and then this was happening. Mr. Myers, do you recall whether child A's parents were present at any stage after this had started? Do you recall whether child A's parents were present at any stage after this had started? She replies, yes, they were called for when child A deteriorated, yes. Which nurse assisted the parents with what was happening? Lucy Letby replies, I'm not sure specifically. Mr. Myers, we know that sadly the resuscitation wasn't successful, and we know that child A died shortly before 9 o'clock that evening. Once child A had died, whose role was it to assist the parents with whatever followed? Lucy replies, it was myself as allocated nurse. Did you assist them? She replies, yes. Did you recall what you had to do or what you did? Do you recall what you had to do or what you did? She replies, I recall doing hand and footprints for child A. because the parents also wanted them done of child B as well. Other than that, I can't remember specific details. Mr. Myers. In fact, the bereavement checklist, which we looked at on Tuesday, related to child A. Not going to go back to it now, but does that set out the sort of things that you did? She replies, yes. Was there any other nurse or nurses who helped you as you were dealing with that? She replies, yes, Nurse A helped me with the hand and footprints. That's something that needs to be done by two people. Mr. Myers, do you recall whether or not there was a memory box that was put together for child A's mum and dad? She replies, yes, there was. Mr. Myers, who did that? Lucy Letby, myself. I started it, yes. Do you recall whether or not there was a baptism or any religious or spiritual assistance offered to the parents? Lucy Letby, yes, when child A was being resuscitated, a baptism was offered to the family, which they accepted, and both child B and child A were baptized together. Mr. Myers, is the offering of a baptism, at this point was the offering of a baptism or any other spiritual rite or religious rite, something that was part of the practice when a situation like this emerged? She replies, yes, that's right. Is there anything that you did, so far as the medical equipment was concerned, after child A had died? Lucy Letby, so after child A had died, I felt that we should retain the bag of fluids and the line that was running through. That was running those fluids through. Mr. Myers, which fluids are you referring to when you say the bag of fluids? Lucy Letby, the bag that Melanie Taylor and I had put up, the bag of 10% dextrose and the infusion line connected to that. So I labelled the bag and the line that was attached to it and then put it in the sluice room. Mr. Myers, and why did you do that? 2 seconds, guys. Excuse me. I've got this bad fear of like narrating something and then this horrendous burp coming out. So it's gone now. It's gone now. So we're good. We're fine. Oh dear. Right, let's carry on. And why did you do that? Lucy Letby. At the time it was discussed, there had been this sort of connection with, we had connected the fluids and then child A deteriorated. And it was felt at the time that we should be checking everything related to the line and the fluids. So we were keeping the bag to ensure that it could be tested or whatever might be needed to be done with it if needed. Mr. Myers, and did you have any involvement with the bag after that? She replies, no. Mr. Myers, or do you know what happened to it after that? Lucy Letby, no. Mr. Myers, we've seen after this happened that at various points you were in contact with your colleagues talking about what had taken place on the messaging. She replies, yes. Why did you contact people to talk about what had taken place? She replies, they were my support system. We were a close team, and things like that is something you can only really discuss with somebody who is in the profession. Mr. Myers, how did you feel? How did you feel with what had happened with child A? How did it affect you? Lucy Letby, just stunned. It was complete shock for all of us. And yeah, it was just complete. It felt like we had walked through the door into this awful situation. And that was obviously the first time I'd met child A, the first time I'd met the parents. It was a huge shock. Mr. Myers, just with regard to the messaging, let's have a look at a little bit of it. Won't keep on going to all of it. Keep on going to all of it. Tile 249, please. I've got to stop this dog snoring. Hang on. Why? Right, come on. I'm just trying to get her in her bed. Hang on. Come on. Come on. You're just not having none of it, are you? Come on. God. Oh, God. It's so off-putting. Right, let's start that again. Sorry about this, guys. She's just not having any of it. She just wants to stay right by me underneath the chair. Right, okay. Sorry about that. Let's start again. Just with regard to the messaging, let's have a look at some of it, or a little bit of it. Won't keep on going to all of it. Tile 249, please. 248, the first message, please, Mr. Murphy. It's a message from Nurse A to you. And the following day at 18:38, she said, you did amazing. So proud of you. In fact, just pausing there, the following day, were you back on a shift on the following night shift? She replies, yes. Mr. Myers, who were you looking after on that shift? Do you recall? She replies, no. Mr. Myers, but that's the shift when we turn to events with child B, isn't it? She replies, it is, yes. Mr. Myers, just to keep track of everything, she said, you did amazing, so proud of you. Then 249, please, seconds later. Hope that doesn't sound patronizing. It's genuine. You did fab. And kisses. Then please 250. Now from you to nurse A at 1839. I think it's Kate W instead of Caroline. I think it'd be nice for you to have child B. I think it'd be nice for you to have child B. From you to nurse A. Is that right, is it? I thought it was the other way around with this. Now, from you to nurse A at 1839, I think it's Kate W instead of Caroline. I think it'd be nice for you to have child B. And then 251 is where you actually respond to what nurse A has said to you. No, it's not patronizing at all. Appreciate you saying that, but thanks for letting me do it, but supporting me so well. Was there something odd in your opinion in exchanging messages like this? She replies, no, this would happen frequently. When you say frequently, with reference to what? She replies, so I would frequently message various staff members about different babies on the unit or about personal and social things. Mr. Myers, how important was the support that you got from colleagues when dealing with difficult situations on the unit? She replies, it was hugely. That was my main source of support. Living alone and with there being no formal process in the workplace to support anyone, my colleagues were my main support, yes. Mr. Myers, and was it also just them giving support to you, or did you ever give support to people? She replies, both. In your experience, was it unusual for colleagues to be messaging one another after something had happened that may carry some impact? She replies, no, not at all. I'd say it's something we would all do. We were all regularly in touch outside of work. Mr. Myers. Now, also after the events of that night, one of the things we've seen is there's a Facebook search for the mother of child A and B, child A's mother. I'll give you the reference for that. Told 231, please, Mr. Murphy. The following morning, there'd been a Facebook search for the mother of child A and B. Can you explain to us why you'd done that search? Lucy Letby. To walk into the unit that evening for the first time, to have met those parents, be in that awful situation, I think it was just curiosity that I wanted to see the people behind the awful event that had happened. I think it was just curiosity. They were on my mind. Mr. Myers. We know there are later searches or later searches on the 10th of June in the evening. They are amongst other searches that are ongoing, but on the 10th of June on the evening, you search for the mother of child A and B. And then on the 25th of June, you search for her. Again, why would you look for the mother of child A and B? I don't ask critically, but if you could just explain to the jury so they can understand it as much as you can explain, why would you look for her? She replies, it's a common pattern of behaviour for me. If I think of somebody, I would look them up. Child A and B were on my mind quite a bit at that time. Mr. Myers. And when you did searches, did you search for people in isolation? Or would you be performing a number of searches at the same time? Excuse me, guys. She replies, no, it would usually be done in quick succession, multiple people over a short period of time. Mr. Myers. Are the only people that you looked up parents of babies on this indictment? She replies, no. Mr. Myers. Was there any kind of debrief held after child A died? An official debrief on the unit? She replies, there was a debrief, I believe, a few days later. Right. Do you recall who led that? She replies, Dr. J-Ram. Do you recall what the purpose of that debrief was? She replies, so it was to just look at the sort of the resus itself and to see if there was anything obvious that we needed to learn from at that point. Mr. Myers, the debrief that takes place, is there any kind of discussion amongst staff more informally in terms of support or any type of emotional support for what people have been through? She replies, no, it's more clinically based. Mr. Myers, yes. Did it affect you going through something like this? Lucy Letby. Yes, it did. Yes. It's being alleged, of course, that you did this. Did you? She replies, no. What's it like to have that allegation made? Lucy replies, it's awful. Obviously, that day I wasn't even supposed to be working that night, and it was just such a shock to walk into that situation. Benjamin Myers. How lasting is the impact on the people who are involved in a situation like that? She replies, you never forget something like that. Mr. Myers, I'm going to turn next to the case of Child B. We're going to get Child B done tonight if it kills me. So we'll stop there for a second. We're definitely going to get Child A and B done. We can't just stop it here after 1 hour. Right. Blackwall 754. Everyone have a nice Christmas. Everyone still full and waddling. Yes, pretty much. Pretty much. I've eaten too much sugar and have tummy ache. I haven't been too bad, actually. I haven't stuffed myself silly or anything, so that's always good. Right. Yeah, like I say, I think we should do the second count tonight, and then that should make up for this bit of a balls up that I've done. And then we'll stop once we get to the end of Child B, and then we'll start tomorrow with Child C, I think. I think that's the best thing to do anyway. Right, let's have a look here, see if I've missed anything. Right, let's have a look. Okay. All right, give me a second. Jesus Christ. All right. Marie, welcome to you. It's these things I find extremely strange, the fascination she has on the families and hoarding handover sheets, etc. It's bizarre behavior. Yeah, it's I think what I find quite interesting, obviously, having done now just over 1 day of her evidence in chief, is the fact that she was also searching for mothers and fathers of a couple from Liverpool Women's Hospital, and I just wonder what that's about. And I guess obviously I'm looking at this from a a speculation point of view. I'm not suggesting anything. I can't prove anything, can I, by saying that? But it's just something that stood out to me. This mother and father, unnamed mother and father from Liverpool Women's. I don't know. It's very odd though, isn't it? But then also, what I've also thought is this clearly wasn't an addiction for her unless she had another phone, which, like I say, Terry's in it. Terry, can you remember why we thought at some stage that she may have had a second mobile? Can you remember what it actually said in that document? Because, like I say, Terry wasn't here earlier, and I was trying to explain to people that we did come across something from the police search which could have suggested that they didn't recover all of Lucy Letby's mobiles, only one, but I can't confirm that. I don't think Terence can either, but it's just in case he remembers exactly what it was about. But it is strange. But like I say, it doesn't appear, does it, to be... It doesn't appear to be an addiction. She's not doing it 12 times a day or 15 times a day, or it's almost like it's done with a purpose in a weird sort of way. It's almost like it has a purpose behind it, so in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, and I guess that is demonstrated to some degree by the fact that some of these searches were on significant dates, such as the anniversary of a child's death, or God, what were the other ones? A funeral, possibly, I think was the other one. But there was some commonality in the fact that some of these searches were done on specific dates, but not all of them. But on the flip side of that, it's not like she's doing it every day 10 to 15 times a night, you know? So it doesn't come across like a compulsion, like an addiction. It comes across that she's doing it either just out of curiosity, just to see what's happening, or for a specific purpose. And again, what could that purpose be? Did Lucy Letby know at some stage the police were going to get involved? Was she searching their Facebook to see if anything was updated about that? Like, you know, you're not going to believe what's happened. We just had Cheshire police around the, we don't really know what she was looking for, do we? We don't really know. We don't really know. But like, I don't know if you talk about the same thing there, Potter, but yeah, there's no sort of, there's binges of searches, but there's not sort of like 15 to 20 a day of one person. You know, it's not like she's checking what this person's doing at 9 o'clock, then at 11 o'clock, then at 2 in the afternoon, 5 in the afternoon, 9 at night. You know, it's not like that. It may be that, like, you know, there's sometimes days, weeks, even months between some of the searches. But yeah, it makes me wonder why. Was it for a specific purpose? Was she thinking, you know, the police are going to be involved at some stage during this. I'm going to keep an eye on their public Facebook just in case they put out some post saying, "Oh, you never guessed the police turned up today," and you know, you just don't know, do you? You don't know what she was searching for, or was it, as the prosecution alleged, that she was kind of reveling in their grief to some degree? She was reliving it or reveling in other people's misery, I guess is the best way of putting it. But then, if that's the case, would she not have done it on a far more frequent basis? I don't know. It's a strange. It's just very strange, isn't it? Very, very odd. I don't really know what the answer is there, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, let's carry on here with Child B. Lupula, welcome to you. I think she was fishing for information, I reckon. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that she was well in touch with a lot of these people that were still working there, even up to the point when she was arrested. So there's every possibility here that Letby was being fed information by people who were working at the hospital. And was it the case that when she heard information like, "Oh, you never guess what, the bloody police pulled me in today for questioning, or they interviewed me about you, or, oh, they were talking about this child," or you just don't know, do you? Has she then gone and searched for that child? You know, I'm talking about, this is obviously towards closer to the point when she was actually arrested. I'm not talking about the Child A situation. But, you know, could that explain some of the later searches, possibly, that someone was actually feeding her information from the Countess of Chester? We know she had maybe 1 or 2 close friends on the unit. Is that a possibility? I don't know. Right, let's get on with this. Let's get on with Child B. And as I say, yeah, thank you for your comments as always, and for joining us this evening. It's greatly appreciated. How do I get rid of this comment here? 2 seconds. I'm a novice at this, guys. Just bear with me. Everyone's got to learn. Right. Okay, let's carry on. What are we on here now? Is this B? Okay, again, I won't repeat this. Let's make sure I'm on the right page here. 2 seconds. Okay. I'm going to turn next to the case of Child B. Again, I won't repeat this each time we move between cases, but if I move from one case to the next, there's no insensitivity or lack of appreciation of the enormity of what we're dealing with. That goes for you as well, Miss Letby, does it? She replies, yes. We have to move from case to case to look at the evidence, and where we can, we'll move from one to the next, unless with his lordship's leave, there's a reason for a break. But we're a little early for that. And then Mr. Justice Goss, it's too early, we'll carry on. Mr. Myers. So just pause, keeping in mind the gravity of what we're dealing with, but looking at the evidence of what comes next, which is count 2 on this indictment. Ladies and gentlemen, the case of Child B, Child A's sister. Again, what we'll do is just orientate ourselves to what happened by some of the basic facts. Child B is the twin sister of Child A. The incident relating to Child B happened the following evening. Let's start with tile 1, please, Mr. Murphy, which is just the details of child B's birth. Can we go behind that, please? Thank you. Count 2, child B, born on the 7th of June 2015 at 20:30. It says here 31 plus 2 weeks, twin 1. Her weight is not recorded here, but her weight, no dispute, is 1,669 grams. Caesarean, of course, as her brother was. If we scroll down a little bit, please, to the text giving details of the pregnancy. Again, antiphospholipid syndrome and the reference to warfarin and pregnancy and the medication given there. That's for high blood pressure and a previous stroke. Can we go next to tile 2, please, which just deals with some events soon after child B had been born. If we go into that, please, if we scroll down, please, and keep scrolling. There are a few notes by, what does that say? ST1 Thomas. There are some notes by ST1 Thomas. I just want to identify a few matters here and then we'll move forwards. These notes are made at 2100. They set out the staff present at the delivery and what happened. And then they have the following quote, brought to resuscitaire, wrapped in plastic bag and hat placed on head. Face stimulated, no response, blue and floppy, poor tone, heart rate approximately 50, 5 inflation breaths given, no chest movement noted, and no response in heart rate. Airway repositioned. Excuse me. Does that say 2-man airway? Lucy replies, yes. So it's 2 people are needed to manage the airway. Mr. Myers. 2-man airway plus 5 inflation breaths given. No clear chest movement and heart rate remained below 60 with SATs of 40%. Airway repositioned with shoulder roll. 5 inflation breaths given and chest movement seen. Over the page, please. If it continues, some attempts at RESPs. No change in heart rate, around 50 IPPV. That's independent positive pressure ventilation. Is that right? Lucy replies, yes. Given for approximately 30 seconds and chest movements good. Oxygen up to 40%. Heart rate less than 60, so CPR commenced between 2 and 3 minutes of age. Neonatal team requested. Neonatal consultant called at 5 minutes, no respiratory effort, first attempt at intubation, tube appeared to pass cords, unclear chest movement. No colour change on capnograph, no increase in heart rate. In fact, after that and further attempts, the intubation became successful and child B got the breathing support that she needed. But that's just dealing with the process from birth and the early part of child B's life. That all takes place on the evening of the 7th of June, just after she'd been born. Before we actually look at the events on the unit that we're looking at in this count, can we just look at the nursing note of Nurse A, which deals with the event itself, so we can keep that in mind when we hear your evidence. That's at tile 218, please. Just to remind us all, we can go into that. We'll look at the detail in a moment in the note, but just to remind us with the headings, this event is the second charge on the indictment relates to events on the 9th of the 6th, going into the early morning of the 10th of the 6th. And as everyone may recall, there's 2 matters which come up. One is just before midnight. There was a desaturation, and it appeared that child B's CPAP prongs had dislodged from her nose. And then round about midnight, midnight, going into the 10th, there was a sudden desaturation to 50% and skin discoloration was noted. So that's what we're dealing with. We can look at the note now made by Nurse A. We're going to look at a note that says the 10th of June 2015, 7:28. This is a note by Nurse A the following morning. And my dog is snoring again. Shortly before midnight, child B desaturated to 75%. Found to have pushed CPAP prongs out of nose. Prongs and head repositioned. Took a little while and O2 to recover. Took a little while and O2 to recover. That's oxygen. Next part. Heart rate remains stable. Good respiratory effort throughout. Once settled, CBG taken. That's capillary blood gas, isn't it? Lucy replies, yes, which was normal. Dr. Lambie on unit and satisfied that child B was stable. Can we go to the next entry that follows soon after this one? This entry made at 7:29. 0030, sudden desaturation to 50%, cyanosed in appearance, centrally shut down, limp, apneic, CMV via neopuff. What's CMV mean? Can you help us with that? Lucy replies, that's continuous mechanical ventilation. It's another phrase of IPPV that we talked about earlier. Mr. Myers, all right. CMV via neopuff commenced and chest movement seen. Colour changed rapidly to purple blotchiness with white patches. Started to become bradycardic, which is a slowing of the heart rate, is it? Lucy replies, yes. Mr. Myers, emergency call for doctors put out. Continue with neopuff via Guido airway until Dr. Lambie arrived. Became bradycardic to 80s, successfully intubated by Dr. Lambie and heart rate improved quickly. 0.9 saline bolus given and colour started to improve almost as quickly as it had deteriorated. Started to breathe for herself. So this is one of the common factors, isn't it? It's one of the key points in this case, that a lot of these children had these remarkably quick recovery. So the prosecution or a lot of the medical experts said if this was like an infection or some sort of bug, they wouldn't have had these, 1 minute they're on the edge of death, the next minute, a massive deteriorate, a massive improvement in their condition, So again, just go through that quickly. 0.9 saline bolus given and colour started to improve almost as quickly as it had deteriorated. Started to breathe for self. Morphine commenced and placed on ventilator. I'll stop there. But we know after that, there's a recovery of child B. So that's what we're dealing with. Let's just have a look first then, starting as a starting point with the layout. Who was on duty on that shift and who was looking after which baby? That's on tiles 145 and 146. Can we go to tile 145, Mr. Murphy? How good is your recollection of the details of this shift? Lucy replies, I don't have much recollection. Mr. Myers, or of what happened with child B? She replies, no. Could we go to tile 146, please, showing the actual layout of the nurseries? Thank you. We can see in nursery 1 is nurse A, designated with child B, and also baby JE. You, Miss Letby, were in nursery 3, designated with EB and HT. We can see who else is on the shift there. That's just to orientate us to this. But without a display like this, would you have had any chance of remembering who was where doing what? She replies, no. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Can we take that down, please? Let's go through events then on that evening. To what extent, as a general rule, do nurses assist one another on a unit looking after the babies? She replies, very much so. A lot of tasks that we do require 2 people. Mr. Myers, and will a nurse, how do you know if a nurse needs help? I don't mean help because of an emergency. I just mean help with a task like prescriptions or with the line. Lucy replies, they will come and ask if anybody was free to assist them at that time. Mr. Myers, we've seen that nurse A made reference to the prongs moving, dislodging was the way she put it, and that, quote, child B had desaturated to 75%, found to have pushed CPAP prongs out of nose. Can prongs be dislodged by babies' movements? Letby replies, yes, quite easily. It happens frequently. Mr. Myers, is there anything unusual about that? Lucy replies, no. Do you have any awareness of what went on with child B with prongs moving? She replies, no, I have no recollection of this event. Mr. Myers, what about with what happened at 0030? Do you recall any particular involvement with child B leading up to that? She replies, I recall running a blood gas at some point. I think it was about 12:15. Mr. Myers, let's have a look before we get to that actually. Could we put up, please, tile 213? Just go into that, please. Scroll down. It's on the second page that we need to go to. Pausing here. Can you see it says day 2, 8 for the 6, 15? It's the second, yes, day down. If we look across, I would like you to assist us with what happened at this time. Lucy Letby, on the 8th of June, yes. Lucy Letby, yes. So on the 8th of June at 2300 hours, TPN and lipids have started. TPN and lipids have been started by those 2 members of staff that have signed there. Excuse me. Mr. Myers, Yes. Did you have any involvement with child B as far as you can recall, shortly after midnight on the 10th of June? Letby, not from memory, no, other than the blood gas. Mr. Myers, can we go then to tile 20, which is the blood gas, and go behind that? If we scroll down, you tell us, where is the blood gas that you're referring to? We'll need to move down to where we have entries for the 10th of June. Lucy replies, it's there, the first line on the 10th of June at 0016. Mr. Myers, 0016. Is that your signature at the end of that line? Letby, it is, yes. What will you have done for that entry to be there? What did you do that led to that entry being made? Letby, it's likely that I was the person that took the blood sample to the blood gas machine on the unit and analysed the sample and brought the printout back and filled in this chart. Mr. Myers, would child B have been on her own when you took the blood gas sample away to have it analysed? Letby, no. Mr. Myers, do you have any idea who would have been with her? Letby, I think it was Nurse A. Mr. Myers, you hadn't been working in nursery 1 that evening, had you? You were in a different nursery. Letby, that's right. Mr. Myers, do you have any idea how Nurse A came to ask you for assistance with the blood gas? She replies, no, it's usual practice that it would take 2 people. So she may have just asked if I was free at that moment. Mr. Myers, right. Apart from that, do you have any independent recollection of being involved with child B in any way before her deterioration at about 0030? She replies, no. Mr. Myers, you were, as it happens, questioned in your interview about morphine that was given to child B. I just want to deal with that. We'll be going to the interviews from time to time, ladies and gentlemen, so let's start as we mean to go on. If you track down interview bundle 1, I'll show you the reference. Do you have a copy of the interview bundles there, Miss Letby? Letby replies, yes. If we go behind the redacted folder or divider, where the initials for the baby are, that's also interview 1, always, and then we've got 2 and 3, so it's redacted interview 1. If we go forward to page 12, we'll be going back to this bundle section. Can you see the sun blue text, Miss Letby? Yes. You're being asked questions about contact that you had with child B, and the police are looking at the question of what happened and what could have been involved with the collapse that she had. Sorry about that. My brain went for a second. You were being asked questions about contact that you had with child B, and the police are looking at the question of what happened and what could have been involved with the collapse that she had. You're shown tile 241, which we'll look at in a moment, or rather asked about the entry on that document. You said your answer was, okay, that's a morphine bolus that would seem I have given to child B. The question then was, physically, what do? You replied, you attached a morphine syringe to child B and give the volume. It says IV. I'm not sure which type of access child B had, whether it's peripheral, cannula, a long line, or a UVC. The officer then asks, so that's a physical pressing of a syringe into the baby via something? Letby replies, yes. Question, but you can't be sure what that was, what the apparatus was. She replies, I'm not sure which line it was delivered through, no. Question, okay, so that and that, so that will be physical contact. Letby replies, yes, to attach the line, yes. And that's right, isn't it? Using morphine like that would be a physical contact with the baby in that way. Letby replies, yes, it would, yes. Mr. Myers, but I'd just like to be clear about this. I'd just like to be clear about the time this actually happened, the morphine. Can we put up tile 241, Mr. Murphy, which is the document we're referring to? If we look at that, this is the morphine that's given. Looking at the entry, what's set out there? Who is involved in the giving of this morphine to child B? Lucy replies, it's myself and Mary Griffith. Yes, now of course, the officer was asking about contact in the context of establishing anything that could have been done to cause child B to deteriorate. Letby replies, yes. But so we can be clear, what time was it that the morphine was given? Lucy replies, so this is at 0110, and this is a result of her being intubated. Mr. Myers, right, so this is something that happens actually 40 minutes after the collapse, isn't it? She replies, that's right. Mr. Myers, because of the collapse? Letby replies, it is, yes. So whatever you're being asked about physical collapse, that's not That's not before the collapse at all, is it? She replies, no. Mr. Myers, my lord, can I continue with this if Miss Letby is able to continue, and perhaps we can conclude? Certainly, but do you recall? Okay, they're carrying on. Okay, Mr. Myers, are you all right to just conclude with this? Letby replies, yes. Do you recall events leading up to Child B's deterioration at 0030? Lucy replies, not with any clarity, no. What's the first... We can take that down now, by the way, Mr. Murphy, thank you. What's the first thing you remember about what happened with Child B that night, apart from possibly the blood gas? She replies, I know that there was a deterioration at some point, fairly soon after this. Right, what do you remember? What do you remember that you saw or took part in? Could you just help us with what your memory stretches to? Because we don't have the notes from you. The notes are from Nurse A. Lucy replies, yes. Tell us what you recall. Letby replies, from memory, Nurse A and I were both in nursery 1. And at some point, we became aware that Child B had deteriorated and her colour had changed. I hope you can't hear this dog. Right, Lucy, I think Nurse A alerted me to that. So she's saying that Nurse A became aware of the changing colour. Nurse A is alerting me. Nurse A is alerting Lucy Letby. Mr. Myers, do you recall how Child B was? When you say her colour had changed, could you describe that? She replies, she had become quite mottled and dark. All over her body or in particular parts of her body? Lucy replies, all over from memory. Can you describe that colour again? Lucy replies, it was a dark mottling colour. A dark mottling colour? She replies, yes. You saw that? Letby replies, yes. Had you seen anything like that colouring before? Lucy replies, what do you mean? Now this is, I don't know. I don't know whether it's just me, like, I don't know, being super sensitive to what she's saying here, but you have to remember that a large section of this case revolves around Lucy's colleagues seeing a very, very strange rash, right? And many of these individuals had been, professionals for 10, 15, 20, even 30 years. They were vastly more experienced than Lucy Letby. And they kept on saying, we keep seeing this, or we've seen this rash, or I've seen this rash, and I've never seen anything like this before, right? And yet when Lucy Letby was interviewed, she said, oh no, it's just like general mottling. It's nothing special. I'd seen that sort of stuff before. And I just wonder, when he says that question there, and bearing in mind, this is a common theme. This isn't just, Child B. This is a common theme throughout this case. A number of different colleagues, some of the colleagues were her own personal friends, right? These weren't people that hated her, weren't people that were part of this conspiracy or whatever. These were her own personal friends, quite a few of them. And they said, I've never seen anything like this before. This rash completely perplexed me. I've never seen it before. Lucy said, no, it was fairly normal. So there's a big, discrepancy there. Now, the reason that I've just told you that is because I wonder why she's given this response here. Mr. Myers has said, had you seen anything like that colouring before? Now, that's a pretty straightforward question, isn't it? Have you ever seen that sort of colouring before? And she's replied with, what do you mean? I don't understand that. Had you seen anything like that colouring before? What do you mean? Had you seen that type of colouring on any baby before this point? And I think that she's aware, isn't she? Lucy is aware of what other people have said. She's well aware of what their evidence is. So when he asked her the question, had you seen anything like that colouring before? Her first thing should be, yeah, of course. Yeah, I've seen things like that. Maybe not to that extent, but I have seen colouring like that in the past. But her response is, what do you mean? Had you seen that type of colouring on any baby before this point? She replies, yes. It was like general mottling that we do see on babies. Right. Was it unusual, or was it not unusual in your opinion? She replies, it was not unusual, but obviously we were concerned for Child B because of Child A's decline the night before. Mr. Myers, you describe Child A, you say, was centrally pale with poor perfusion. Yes. So did it look the same as child A's or different from child A's? Lucy replies, no. So child A was pale, he was white. Child B had more colour. It was a purple mottling colour. Mr. Myers, all right. Do you recall who was with you when you saw that? She replies, Nurse A. Do we have, I'm sure we've got Nurse A's testimony, haven't we, for this? I might check this tomorrow. I'll tell you what will be good. If we can go through this and then we combine what she's saying here with then what happened in her cross-examination on individual cases. I think that'd be quite interesting to just see the contrast of what she says here and then combine that with the cross-examination, which obviously takes place after this point. Because I'm fairly sure that Nurse A said, yeah, I saw this really strange rash and it looked very much like the twin did the night before. And Lucy was like, no, not at all. No, they were completely different. She doesn't want them connected because they're both allegedly attacked by the same means. So Lucy wants it to appear, or would want it to appear, if she is indeed guilty, throwing that out there, if she is indeed guilty, she would want these two cases to not be connected. They won't have the same symptoms. They won't show the same pattern of, discoloration. But Nurse A, who I believe had been doing that job for 30 years, very, very experienced nurse, and a personal friend of Lucy Letby's, she said, I couldn't believe it. I then saw child B with a very similar appearance that the twin had the night before. And Lucy was like, no, not at all. I don't agree with that. So, it's weird, isn't it? It's strange. Anyway, let's carry on. Excuse me. But I think that might be quite a good idea, is when we get these little flashpoints, is to then move to the cross-examination and see what the truth of that situation was. What did Nurse A say when she was interviewed by the police? What did Nurse A say when she gave evidence on the witness stand? That's the important part, isn't it? Anyway, let's carry on. Were you joined by anybody else, Miss Letby? She replies, Dr. Lambie. Is that Rachel Lambie? She says yes. Was there any action that you took once this deterioration had been identified? Excuse me. I'm really losing my voice. I don't know why. She replies, yes. So at that point, I was asked to go round to get the unit camera to take a picture of the colour change in child B. Excuse me, Mr. Myers. The unit has a camera, does it? And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Now think about this. Why, if it was something normal, why is she being asked to go and get a camera? Why is Lucy Letby being asked to get a camera if this was all fairly normal? Again, what did she just say about the condition? Had you seen that type of colouring on any baby before this point? Yes, it was like general mottling that we do see on babies. But yet she's then been told to go and get the camera because what they're seeing, according to everybody else that was there, was so unusual, right? But she's going to deny that in a minute, I think, but we'll carry on. So did it look the same as child A's or different to child? Have I gone too far here? Hang on. No, I haven't. Right, there we go. The unit has a camera, does it? She replies, it does have a camera, yes. So if anybody wants to see anything they regard as significant, they are able to access that camera. Lucy replies, yes. Mr. Myers, where is it kept? Lucy Letby. It's kept in the manager's office at the back of the unit. So you fetched the camera? Letby replies, yes. And what happened after you'd got the camera? Lucy replies, so on my return, child B had stabilised and her colouring had returned to normal. There wasn't anything to photograph. Mr. Myers, did you have the camera with you? Yes. And you brought it back? Yes, and I got it very quickly. Yes, and I got it very quickly. Because let's think about this. And again, if you're trying to make this person appear guilty, the first thing you're going to say in the prosecution's shoes, you're going to say, well, isn't it funny that you went to get a camera and by the time that you came back, the situation had normalized? Did you take your time to get that camera? Were you really keen to go and get that camera? That's the sort of thing you'd come out with, isn't it? But she's got in there fairly quickly And when he said, and you brought it back, she replies, yes. And I got it very quickly, to shut down any sort of, well, did you take your time? Were you buggering about? She says, nope. Yes, I got it. Yes, I got it. And I got it very quickly. And can anybody use that camera? She replies, yes. So could someone have taken it off you if they wanted and taken a photograph? She replies, yes. Did anybody? She replies, no. Again, could you explain to us why no photograph was taken even though you got the camera? She replies, when I returned, her colouring was normal. There was no abnormal change then. Mr. Myers, pausing for a minute, and I'm sorry if you did say this, but I just want to make it clear. What was the first, just going back a short period, what was the first that you knew or the first indication that there was a problem with child B, if you can remember? What brought that to your attention? Lucy Letby, from my memory, it was Nurse A alerted me. Lucy Letby, sorry, Mr. Myers. By doing what? Lucy Letby, I think she called me over, right, to child B. Do you recall whether you had any part to play in the resuscitation or the stabilization of child B? Lucy Letby, not from memory, no. Mr. Myers, did you have any involvement with her soon after the collapse, apart from collecting the camera? Lucy Letby, so I believe I administered some of the drugs that she needed after intubation. Mr. Myers, if we just go back, please, to tile 20, which is the blood gas tile. Could we go there, Mr. Murphy? Can we go into that, please? We'll scroll down. Can you see 0051? Lucy Letby, yes. There's a capillary sample taken. Who's taken that sample? Lucy Letby. I can't say who's taken the sample, but that is my writing that's documented that they've analysed it. Mr. Myers, again, why can you not say who's taken the sample from this? She replies, because we can never definitively say who has taken a sample. That is not documented. But the likelihood is the person who's documented is not the person who's physically taken the blood sample. Mr. Myers, as you've explained, the nurse treating might do. Oh my God, hang on. Mr. Myers, as you've explained, the nurse treating might do that and hand the ticket to another nurse to get the analysis performed on the machine. Lucy Letby. Yes, and then they would remain with the baby. Mr. Myers. And the other excuse me, and the other nurse comes back and writes the details up if that's Lucy Letby, that's right. If that's being done that way. All right. Okay, so let's go. Sorry, I don't know. Justice Goss, Mr. Justice Goss has a question. He says, sorry, hand the what to the other nurse? Mr. Myers, hand the sample. Mr. Justice Goss, you said ticket. That's why I'm querying it. Mr. Myers, sorry, it's coming back with the ticket. It's the sample that's handed and then the ticket comes back. Is that right? Lucy Letby replies, the sample would be handed to the person who then goes to the gas machine and obtains the printout that we've seen, which is then written onto the chart. So say that again. The sample would be handed to the person who then goes to the gas machine and obtains the printout that we've seen, which is then written onto the chart. Mr. Myers, that's why the nurse writing it down, you say, may not be the nurse who's actually taken the sample. Lucy Letby. Jesus, that's right. Right, 2 seconds, guys. I need to lube the vocal cords. Right. JC, welcome to you. Let's have a look here. Kaz, thank you very much for the £1.49 super sticker. Much appreciated. Oh my God. I wonder how much more we've got. Let me just have a quick look, because if we've got like another 20 pages, I don't think my voice is going to last. Let me have a look. Let me just see what we're on a minute. 54. Oh, that's all right. We've only got a few more pages, so we might as well get it done. 54. Yeah, that's easy peasy. And then we can start tomorrow. We can either start tomorrow with child C, or we can look at what she said in this particular instance regarding child A and B and then match it up to what she says in the cross-examination. I don't know, I might have to put a poll out just to see what you would prefer. Whether you'd prefer that sort of video where we go through both this and then compare it to what she says under cross-examination and how the two versions go together, or whether you would just prefer stick with the defense stuff, and then, you know, get through all of this and then figure out something else afterwards. Mr. Potter, what's going on here? Does John not like me? I like everybody, Mr. Potter, unless you've been a complete and utter turnip, which I assume you haven't. So, no, I don't think that's the case. Right, let's get through these pages because the voice could go at any minute. The moneymaker could be redundant. Let's hope that doesn't. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Excuse me. Super chat. Where? I can't see anything on there. Oh my God, there it is. Sorry, Mr. Potter. Thank you so much, John. Thoroughly enjoy listening to you live. Well done for all your work. Thank you very much for the $10, Mr. Potter. No, I didn't see it. For some reason, it wasn't showing up in the chat box. It actually auto-saved under my starred messages for some reason. So yeah, thanks so much for that, Mr. Potter. Greatly appreciated. And Kaz there with a 149. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Lenny. Earning your crust, mate. Well done. Right, okay. Don't worry, Mr. Blackwell. You let Mr. Potter do his thing, all right? You just let Mr. Potter do his thing. Right. Right, let's carry on. Let's try and get rid of this now if I can, hopefully. Right. We're nearly at the finish line. So let's continue on and get this finished. Let's get this in the book. Right. Where were we? Were we on that page or were we? Oh, hang on a minute. Hold the line a minute. Right, let's continue. Okay, so where did we get to? Did we finish here? The sample would be handed to the person who then goes to the gas machine and obtains the printout that we've seen, which is then written onto the chart. That's why the nurse writing it down, you say, right, we've done all that. I think we're on here, aren't we? Okay, so Mr. Myers, that was at just after 0050. So about 20 minutes after the deteriorations. Terence, stop messaging me because it's coming through and it's doing my head in. Just after the 0050. So about 20 minutes after the deterioration. Is that right? She replies, yes. And we've seen also that you assisted in giving morphine a little while after this. She replies, yes. With Nurse Griffiths? Do you recall during the course of the resuscitation who was the stabilization, however we look at it? Who was present in that room? There's you, Nurse A, Dr. Lambie. Were you joined by anybody else from what you can recall? She replies, no. Mr. Myers, were there any other doctors present from what you can remember? She replies, no, I can't say from memory. Other doctors did come, but I can't be sure who. Mr. Myers, other doctors came, but you can't recall who. She replies, yes. Did you recall whether Child B's family were present on this evening? She replies, I'm not sure if they were present at the time, but they did come once Child B deteriorated. Yes. Not sure if they were present at the time, but they did. Okay. See, it's funny, isn't it, how little things stand out to you? Because I distinctly remember the cross-examination talks about the parents of Child B being very much present on the unit because of what had happened to Child A the night before. And then the parents left at 8 o'clock, I think it was. So, and during Lucy's cross-examination, she said, oh yeah, they were very present on the ward. I remember they were very present that day or that evening on the ward. Yet when she's asked that question here, she's not giving that answer. Do you recall whether Child B's family were present on this evening? I'm not sure if they were present at the time. I guess she means the time of the collapse. But they did come once Child B deteriorated, yes. And who would have dealt with them principally when they came? She replies, usually that would be the designated nurse, so I would assume Nurse A. Mr. Myers. Right. If the designated nurse is assisting with the family, what happens with the baby, in this case, child B? Because she's been stabilized, what happens with her? Mr. Myers. So the care would still remain with that nurse, but she may need help from other members of the nursing staff that are on the unit to help with the more practical side of the care, if she is then supporting the parents, Mr. Myers. So with that in mind, can we look please at the observations at tile 237 and observations that follow the collapse and stabilization? If we go into that, Mr. Murphy, thank you. Take a look at the chart as a whole. Then I want you to look at one of the entries in particular. If we look at about 3 or 4 lines in from the left-hand side, we can see your initials down at the bottom, Lucy Letby, yes. And we can see this is the shift on the 10th of June going into the... What? We can see this is a shift on the 10th of June going into the 10th of June. Nurse A was the designated nurse for child B, wasn't she? Yes. If we scroll up, we can see the time at which you've done these observations. We have your initials at the bottom. Let's see the row directly above that. So 0100, Lucy Letby, yes. Why would you be doing the observations on child B at 0100 if nurse A was the designated nurse? Now, this is what the prosecution said, wasn't it? As soon as this child desaturated, she completely elbowed nurse A out of the way and took over child B's care. Why would you be doing the observations on child B at 0100 if nurse A was the designated nurse? Lucy Letby. It's not unusual that nursing staff would help each other out with observations, It may have been that nurse A was talking to the parents at that time and has asked me to take the observations for her. It's not unusual, Mr. Myers. Right, in a normal course of events, it would be the designated nurse that deals with the family, Lucy Letby. Yes, it would, yes. But staff have to continue looking after the baby, is that right? Lucy Letby, yes, Mr. Myers. And is that what you were doing? Lucy Letby, yes. Right, is that the end? Yeah, right, so we'll start with child C. Oh, God, my throat. I don't know what's happened to me. Don't know what's happened. Who is this? Farty Marty with the $9.99. Thank you for the vid. Thank you for the vids and now lives. I'm an ICU nurse and Lucy bewilders me. She's so arrogant, never did anything wrong, not even something small based on evidence. Her guilt is certain to me. Well, thank you very much for your kind donation and for your comment. Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, one thing you can say with absolute certainty is that she is a bit of a bullshitter. You know, like when she talked about, oh, you know, I don't use my phone on the unit. I don't use my phone on the unit. I don't use my phone on the unit. And then there was a point. There's a really, really distinct point during, which child is it? Is it child G? If you go and look at my cross-examination videos, you'll see one of them where she gets completely caught out because she's written down that she's feeding a child, yet she's texting her friends incessantly 20 or 40 minutes either side of when she's written that she's fed a child. So the prosecution said either you haven't fed this child or you fed it by forcing the milk down. And she said, well, it must have happened at a different time. And they said, what happened at a different time? She said, the feed. So she was on her phone quite a lot of the time. We've already seen from the Furwell investigation that she, you know, her clinical practice wasn't amazing, was it? She struggled to retain information. Yeah, we're not going to get into all that stuff, but she wasn't the angel that she portrayed herself to be. Let's be perfectly honest in terms of her nursing abilities, whatever you want to call it. Nursing abilities is probably a better word for that, but there we go. I'm really enjoying these live presentations. Thank you, Jay. I actually really enjoy it because, you know, it allows me to interact with you guys. You know, it's something that hopefully we can do on a far more frequent basis. And yeah, I really enjoy like reading through it in real time. It allows me to get more of my stuff done. You know, 56 pages. If I woke up and thought, Jesus Christ, I've got 56 pages to do today, that would literally take me about for maybe 5 or 6 hours to get that narrated. And you can probably tell because I make a lot of mistakes for some reason. I just can't help it. But by doing it live, it allows me to push through that. So we're getting through more of the information, and I'm allowing, I'm doing it live. So we're able to, I'm able to stop in parts and discuss stuff with you. When stuff catches my eye, I can talk to you about it in real time. So yeah, there's plenty of, there's plenty of pluses by doing the live streams. And I really do enjoy it. I really do enjoy doing them. So even though they're a bit more stressful than just recording videos. But right, okay, yes, JB. I sneaked back in about 10 minutes after the last one, but this one, like I say, I don't know whether I'm going to bother uploading the first one I did because I've got the video of it, but the actual file on YouTube won't upload. So I can either upload the original video, which I probably won't bother doing, or just put this one up because this one starts with count 1. So if you want to go back to the beginning of this, Mr. JB, then you'll be able to do so in probably about 10 minutes or so, and you can watch it literally from the beginning. Her false charting is so diabolical, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, if you look, particularly the second part of the cross-examination video that I did, I've managed to put way more chapters in that one because I had more time to actually add the chapters in for the second part. And you'll notice there's a lot of occasions where she's falsely recorded things, made amendments to certain medical notes, like where she's crossed out certain timelines, changed it to other times to make it look like she's somewhere else and things like that. But the thing is, like, the prosecution didn't even make, they made a big deal out of it, but when it came to the final part of the closing speech, they had these massive lists of all, like, the commonalities between the cases, like 7 cases, for instance, showed children with swollen vocal cords. And, they were going through all the commonalities with the children. 4 of the children had screaming that the colleagues had never heard before in their life, and just, all crazy stuff like this. But with the changing of the notes, the prosecution basically said, look, we can't prove that she's falsified these notes. We believe she has. We believe that it all fits together, but we're not actually going to put these, we're not going to give you these as part of this list. If you believe, you can have a look at the lists, you can have a look at her notes in your own time, and you can make your own findings, or whether you believe them to be accurate or simple mistakes, or whether she's done it on purpose. He didn't even force the point when it came to her falsifying the notes. But it's bloody obvious, isn't it? When you've got stuff like doctors, medical exams missing and things like that, no records of a doctor having looked at a child, and she's on a chart making it look like the child's declining. Yet when they think, well, hang on a minute, which doctor actually saw this child then? She never told anybody. It's I don't know. This is why you need to, you need to look at the intricacies of this case. It's not all about, no one saw her do it. It's not that simple, It just isn't. It's quite an in-depth case. Let your dog snore. Oh dear. My dog has been snoring. My dog is still below me. She could have just gone and sat in her lovely memory foam bed, but she's sitting under me for some reason on a rug. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Anyway, thanks so much for that donation, Marty. Greatly appreciated. Is there anyone I've missed before we call a halt to tonight's proceedings? Right, I think that will do. We've done nearly 2 hours anyway. I'm going to upload this straight afterwards. Let's hope, fingers crossed, there's no issues. And then we'll be back tomorrow night with... I think what I'll do is I'll put out a poll tomorrow. Keep an eye on the channel because I'm going to put out a poll how you want us to do this, whether you want this to be a straight read through of just the defense, or whether you want me to go case by case. We do child B, the defense, then we move on to what was said in the cross-examination with child B. I'll put out a poll tomorrow. So cast your vote. Actually, I'm going to put a poll on here. I think I can do that. I don't know if I can, but I'll try. Hang on. Bear with me. Let me see if I can add a poll. Getting an echo now. Right, let's see if I can put a poll on here. And then once I close the stream, you'll be able to vote. Right, question number 1. So I'll put defense straight read through Defense. Hang on a minute. Is that the right thing to do? Defense straight read through. Yes or no? Defense. Oh, hang on a minute. Let me put defense. Defense. And combine with. Right. So let me make it clear what the options are. Yes or no? Start poll. Is there create a poll? There's nothing else I can do, is there? Defense. All right, hang on. Defense and combine with cross-examination. Oh, right. Hang on a minute. Defense. I'm a bloody amateur, guys. 2 seconds. Straight read through. So defense straight read through, yes or no? And then we're going to add a second option. Defense with cross-examination. Right, okay. Can I do that? No, with cross-examination. Oh, I don't know if this bloody works, does it or not? I don't know. Why can't I create a poll? I'm so simple. Why can't I create a poll? What's going on here? What is going on, man? Right, hang on a second. I'm determined to get this to work now. It's really annoyed me. Right, what are the options? Participants? No, that's no good. I'll stick a little one of these in here. I don't know why. While I'm waiting, while I'm figuring out what I'm going to do. Where's the poll button? Right, here we go. Start a Q&A. I definitely don't want to do that. Start a poll. Let your viewers weigh in. Right. Okay. I'm just going to put it in here in big capitals. Combine with cross-examination, yes or no? Right. Combine with cross-examination. Right, so the options here, I've just started the poll. Combine with cross-examination means that we look at a single case, child A, child B, and then once we've read that case, we've taken the evidence in chief, we then read out the cross-examination regarding that child. Now, if you select no, that means we'll just continue with the defense as it is. We're going to read all the rest of the 4 or 5 days of Lucy Letby's evidence in chief and let it be a standalone thing. So if you'd rather it just be standalone, purely defense, don't, interfere with anything else, any of the prosecution stuff, keep that separate. If you just want it to be the defense, select no. If you want it to be combined and we go case by case, defense, evidence in chief, and then we compare it to the cross-examination, then select yes. And I'm going to leave that up there. We'll leave that up there till tomorrow lunchtime. And the people that have come forward and watched the stream after the event, they will be able to vote as well. So I just hope they reach the end of this, and then they'll work out what it's all about. But yeah, yes or no. And let me get back to the old stream, y'all. There we go. Terry wants some pussy, some cats, some kittens. Oh, Terence, what are we going to do with you? Oh, I don't know. What he was messaging me earlier. It's really getting on my bloody titteroonies. Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. It was actually Terry messaging me on Discord saying that Potter and the wonderful Kaz had made a donation, and I couldn't see it. So I'm probably quite glad they did message me actually. Right. Okay. So I'll keep an eye. Like I say, I'll keep an eye on that. I'll keep an eye on that poll tomorrow, and then I'll decide what we're going to do. Thanks so much, as I say, to everybody who has donated this evening. As I've mentioned in previous streams, the channel is completely viewer funded, and any help is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for what you've done this evening, for attending, even though I've done basically 2 streams. I really do appreciate it. So thanks so much for that. It's greatly appreciated. A massive thank you again to Marty Potter, the legend that is Mr. Potter 64. Kaz49, and anyone else who I mentioned earlier. Thank you so much. Right, guys, let's call it there for this evening, and I'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you vote in the poll. Let me know what you want. Let me know what you think about, how we're going to cover this moving forward. And thanks so much again for joining me for the second part. It is greatly appreciated. I can have a little rest now. Take care, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, probably about 7 or 8, I'd imagine. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye for now.